when you believe in details, when you try to understand the whole process of wine production, at the end of the day, you have the chance to get one of the top wineries, and that's what we try to do. We try to play in the Champions League of German wine production, to be top 10 in Germany.
Today, it's my pleasure to be here with Roman Niewodniczanski, the owner of Volxem, the best wine by far here on the Mosel and on the Saar. So thank you for having us here.
One of several, I'm not the best.
Yes.
I tried to, my grandfather always said, try to be good among the best.
Yes, at least since 2000, since you invested your life in this business, you are striving for excellence.
Thank you so much.
And I think there's already a lot of recognition. I have the pleasure to enjoy here the fantastic Alte Reben from 2023. And I wish you were all here because it's really a good start for the interview. So I have a few questions to ask you, but I'm a big fan of history, and we are in a very special place. We know that there was a lot of fights here. The Maréchal de Créqui was not far away. Napoleon was not very far away. So tell us a little bit about the history of this exact place.
This place, especially the old winery in the center of Wiltingen. First of all, thank you so much for having the chance to talk about it. Mosel wine, especially the wine of the River Saar, which has its own history, is really connected with history. My winery is built on a Roman villa. So 2,000 years ago, there was in my place, in my house, in the underground, there are still monuments lying in my place. So there was the Roman palace.
And it's not a surprise because when you arrive with a car, you can see it's a great view on the Saar.
And we find historic pieces in every vineyard. We find the pillows, we find lots of material in the vineyard. I have tons of material from the Roman time. So the Romans did find this region, discover this region nearly 2,000 years ago as a great place for wine. And they did bring in the culture of winemaking from Italy, from Greece, from Italy to the valley of the Mosel. And here we are in the valley of the Saar, which was actually part of Luxembourg until 1816. And so we have lots of history.
And it was one of the first places where they put some wine in steep places. Huh?
Yes, and so they did take away the forest from the deep slopes, and they did plant vines. They did never plant vines in the flat vineyards. They did always only plant vineyards in the best vineyards. So when we follow this classification map of 1816, this is exactly the place where the Romans did plant their vineyards. Gottsfuß, Schafsberg. The name Schafsberg is an old Roman word. So these are all vineyards which have been planted first time at the beginning of the 2nd century, nearly 2,000 years ago, which is fascinating to me.
And then it was kind of lost. I didn't understand why. So why people stopped making wine in the Middle Age at one stage?
Asterix and Obelix came, the French came, and they did send the Italians home, the Romans home, and this whole was a difficult period between the 6th and the 9th century, and then the monks came. And the monks did cultivate the vineyards, like in Burgundy, with the same history, exactly the same history like in Burgundy. The monks did create the monasteries, did plant the vineyards, and the monks were the first to plant white wine and red wine. And then later Riesling came, that's a bit later, that was in the 17th century, but they did first plant varieties, one variety in one vineyard. In the Roman time, they didn't differentiate between white and red.
So they made it a bit more sophisticated.
They made it, they did aromatize with honey, with herbs, with several flavors, but the monks were the first to plant varieties.
Very good. And then there's a big event, I like the word, the secularization.
Exactly.
So it goes from the church or the religious management to a non-religious management.
Absolutely. You need to understand that this region, the Saar Valley, the lower Saar Valley, around south of Trier, this was a part of Luxembourg until 1816. The frontier was 150 meters next to my winery. The frontier between Prussia or Kurfürstentum Trier, between the Bishop of Trier and Luxembourg.
And it was a Treaty of London already, I think, at the time.
Exactly. Until the Vienna Congress. This was a part of Luxembourg, and Luxembourg in those days was a part of France. So we've been French. And we do have exactly the same language and the same culture like Luxembourg. That's the reason why I love Luxembourg, and I feel home when I listen to Luxembourgish. This is my culture, this is my history.
Common heritage.
Exactly, this is my home because I was born in Bitburg, which was also part of Luxembourg in those days. Unfortunately, in the Vienna Congress, this all was taken by Prussia, and the frontier became the Mosel and the Sauer River.
It's always funny if you like I do, to visit the villages nearby. We have Taverne, we have all those little villages. You have a different Blatt in every village.
That's true.
And I find that in Vasselich, you really get very, very close to Luxembourgish, because when I go in a cafe in Vasselich and I speak Luxembourgish, they think I'm from Vasselich.
Exactly. So and the same with Eifeler Platt, it's the same family language.
Exactly.
My mother speaks fluently Luxembourgish.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, I understand it, but it makes me happy I don't speak it, unfortunately.
So then it takes us to this beginning of the 19th century, when von Volxem, a Belgian guy, buys this property, I would imagine?
First of all, the French came and they did secularize, they did nationalize the monasteries. So they did take away the big wineries, Egon Müller, Katterserhof, Maximin Grünhaus, von Volxem. These have been monasteries. So my winery was run by a monastery, and the former owner here was the Duc de Beaufort. Before it was owned by the Duc de Beaufort. Why was the Duc de Beaufort the owner? He bought it on auction after this winery was sold, because the winery was owned by Jesuits from Luxembourg.
Okay.
So the owners had been Luxembourgish. And after this was before the secularization, and then the secularization came, and then a guy from Belgium came, and this winery, his name was Van Volxem, and he bought the winery in a time when there was a big crisis here. Why? Because of heritage law, because of La Code Napoleon.
Yes.
The La Code Napoleon, French communism heritage law, made the wineries very weak.
Because
they needed to cut it to pieces, and the vineyards became.
We still see it today when you do a jogging in the vineyards. You still see
small pieces, small parts.
Absolutely.
And this made the whole land very weak, and the region suffered a lot. And then Mr. von Volxem was able to buy this whole place in the mid 19th century, and he bought it from a French guy. Actually, this winery was owned by a Frenchman.
Okay, before, and then he had a vision already. He wanted to do it right.
Absolutely, he came from Brussels, and his vision was to make great wine. And luckily, he was a hard-working man. And von Volxem was already known. I don't know the name of the winery, but it was also already a strong winery, because the price of the von Volxem winery was higher than the price of the Egon Müller winery, which is now the superstar of this region. So Mr. von Volxem bought it on auction, and his son made it to make it one of the most successful wineries in the Prussian time. I just told you documents where you see that von Volxem was sold in Paris, or in Berlin, or in Königsberg, or in Russia, for prices up to 5 times more expensive than the Grand Cru from Bordeaux.
Exactly, and also on cruise ships, which was a big trend at the
Absolutely.
time. It was the Riesling and the wine from the Saar were extremely well.
You've just seen the map from the New York Ritz-Carlton, 1941, which is really impressive. And you see that the wine in the Ritz-Carlton, there were 6 white wines from Burgundy. I love white wine from Burgundy. 6 white wines from Burgundy, about 20 wines from Bordeaux, 25 wines from Burgundy. Red wines, 6 white wines from Burgundy, and 46 white wines from Germany, all dry.
It was a golden age.
Golden age, and Mosel wine did dominate every wine list of a luxury hotel in the world.
Exactly.
Sorry, I cannot say this loud enough, but please come here, see the documents, see the originals, see the original map from the Ritz-Carlton New York, from the Ritz Paris, from the Grand Hotel Königsberg. I have lots of antique maps, original document. This is not disinformation, this is the original.
Of course.
I love my father. Father was one of the biggest map collectors in the world. My father was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. He was the boss of a big brewery. He was a big guy, but in his heart he was a collector. And he gave me the enthusiasm for documents. He told me, read the newspaper, read the Neue Zürcher Zeitung, the FAZ, but follow the original information.
Absolutely.
Follow statistics. Don't follow blah blah. Follow the truth.
Exactly. And
we live in a time when truth is not very popular
the
anymore.
fake news are getting popular.
Very popular.
I would recommend to people who are interested, you just have to take a car or a bicycle and you go along the Mosel. Of course, you go to Traben, you look at the architecture, you know what happened there. There's many signs, if you look carefully, along the Mosel of those golden times.
Sorry to interrupt you, but the cellar of the city of Traben was on the same level like the city of Bordeaux.
Of course.
The quantity of barrels being kept in the cellars of Traben, please visit Traben. Visit the cellars.
Especially
the
during
huge.
the Weihnachtsmarkt, you can go in the cellars.
100,000 of barrels, 100,000, I would say,
That's
millions
crazy.
of barrels. The biggest wine merchants in Europe that have cellars in Traben. Nobody knows Traben now anymore. No, it's just nothing against Traben, to be honest, it's not the place to be. But in those days, it was the place to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of history. You can still have a good weekend there. So there were several generations of von Volxem, and then in 2000, you decide to invest your life in this project.
Exactly, but in 1993, the last Mr. von Volxem, he bankrupted. He wasn't able to run the winery anymore because the production costs were too high, so he lost the winery. And a guy from Munich, Mr. Jordan, who was the boss of Nokia in Germany, he bought it. And unfortunately, he also failed in the year 2000. He needed to sell it, and I was able to buy it, and I was very happy.
Very good. So maybe let's go, after 25 years, we'll go back into detail. A few numbers about von Volxem today. So 400,000 bottles?
Around, more or less, yes.
85 hectares?
Yes, that was in 2024, but we just reduced because we really follow on excellence. We follow quality. There's a very, very important rule in this winery that means we need to focus on the best. And I must realize that because of global warming, the time window to harvest the grapes in a perfect condition gets shorter. So we only have more or less 3 weeks of harvest time where we are able to harvest all the grapes. And 85 hectares might be a little bit too much. Okay. Therefore, we just reduce. My plan is next year to have 60 hectares.
Wow, so big.
Only the best.
Big simplification.
We cut wines, we take out wines. We only focus on the very best.
Very good. That's
Luckily,
a good approach.
I own 10 Grand Cru vineyards, 10 different Grand Cru vineyards. We focus on the very best sites.
Very good. So for people who don't know your name, I think in the region here near Trier, everybody knows Niewodniczanski. Your brother is the CEO from Bitburger Brewery. Maybe you can just say very, very shortly that...
Moi, je suis le cheval noir. I'm the black sheep of the family. I make wine.
People tend to think that, I think it's 1800, I looked before
1817.
17 was the start of the brewery. But it's not just the brewery, there's also the Simon family. Basically, it's a conglomerate. There's not just the breweries, there's a lot of things. So, long story short, how did you decide to invest your life here? And then we can go into the detail of these 2.5 decades.
In my family, wherever we invest into a company, we try to be the best in the market. When we have a white beer, black beer, dark beer, when we invest into oil recycling or in other industry, we try to be the market leader. I think it's very important in every industry to be in the top part of the market. There are about 25,000 producers in Germany of wine, and to run a normal winery is not fun. But when you it's hard work. It's very hard. I work 7 days a week. But if you fight for quality, if you have the right potential, it's like in football. When you don't have the right soccer player, you cannot be part of the Champions League.
Yes.
So we need to have the right vineyards. We need to have the right potential of the vineyards. When you find the right people, then you do have the potential. When you fight for excellence, that's first of all, when you fight for details. When you believe in details, when you try to understand the whole process of wine production, at the end of the day, you have the chance to get one of the top wineries, and that's what we try to do. We try to play in the Champions League of German wine production, to be top 10 in Germany, and we need to fight it year by year, and then it's fun.
So just maybe when you arrived in 2000, you just said a few years before it went bankrupt. Did you invest a lot? Was it a huge investment at the beginning, or more a steady effort through 2.5 decades so far?
From the first day on, I bought land. because of the French Revolution, la Code Napoleon, the heritage law, I was able to buy land from about 540 owners. And so lots of contracts as a notary. And why? I was always focusing on the best land.
Okay.
We are now owners of many of the best vineyards around me, and we own big plots. This is very important in this business. Why? We work all natural. We believe in our own genetic. We believe in ungrafted wines. We believe in mass selection. To make wine begins in the vineyard.
Yes,
and it ends in the barrel, in the bottle. So you need to understand the whole process, and this is a lifelong learning. And it begins with the right genetic. So we think a lot about the right genetic. And I was able to buy fantastic vineyards, and from the first on, it was a big investment. But to be honest, if you want to get rich, don't buy a winery.
Okay. Well, what was interesting, we had a visit of your cellar, and I could immediately see you are a person of character, you have a person of conviction, and you shared with me that you basically have three main, let's say, priorities. And the first one is sustainability.
Absolutely.
So you say no chemical products, you let it age slowly.
It's not only about this. To me, it's a closed process, and in the year 2025, we need to realize that global warming changed everything. Global warming gives me the chance to get fully ripe grapes in here, but it also puts lots of pressure and responsibility on me. I am responsible for the next generation. I know that sustainability is big marketing blah blah, but we are certified fair and green, which is a tough process of certification. And we really check every detail in the process. We try to be honest, to save some money and energy. So we produce about 50% of our energy ourselves. We have a closed water process in this winery. This winery was created 2019 by a team of Italian architects, and luckily I've had a consultant from Lyon, from France, who helped me to create the concept of sustainability in this winery. And so we really focus on details.
Okay, so one priority, sustainability, wherever you can, and as you say, it's not just one thing, it's a lot of details. But the second point we talked a lot about is the climate change. We talk about the fact that in the Mosel, people start buying some wine exactly higher. You told me that the Saar is colder a little bit than the Mosel, so
Much
how
colder.
do you take advantage, I would say, of this climate change?
Before buying the winery, I traveled a lot to the US. I traveled to California, Oregon, Washington State. I tried to buy a winery and vineyards in South Africa. Then I thought about Chile, Argentina. I fell in love with the culture of Argentina. I'm a big fan of South America. But then I realized that because of political reason, South Africa and Argentina, and mainly because of climatic change, it might make sense to invest in Germany. In those days, and there's a big rule, buy at bad news, sell at good news. In those days, the year 2000...
Like a stock market advice.
Absolutely, yeah. So I invested in the year 2000 in this region. In this region, there was no future. In the year 2000, the Saar Valley and the Mosel was dead.
Really?
There was Egon Müller, there was J.J. Prüm, Maxim Grüner, some great producers, Markus Mullit and others. But to be honest, the reputation of Mosel wine was not very high.
Wow.
And I thought that low alcohol in combination with finesse and elegance and long finish might be something in a dry wine which could attract the people. So I thought about making wine with 10, 11, 11.5 or 12 alcohol, with lots of minerality, with a fingerprint of the terroir of the vineyard, with great aging potential. Could be something which could attract the vineyard, could attract the people, especially in restaurants. So we did. The majority of my wines are sold in restaurants in Scandinavia. In France, we sell in Paris wine. So people realize that this wine is a fantastic food partner, and this was something I thought about in the year 2000. And to me, global warming was something that will happen. And global warming is the main reason, number one, why I bought the land over here.
Yeah, and I think you're touching two notions here, your second and third concept. So the second one, is about this global warming, where, as we talked about, in Bordeaux or in Bourgogne, you've got those 100 days where normally between the flower and the I don't know how you say in English.
Flowering and harvest.
The flowering and the harvest. And as you told me, it's moving.
It's moving, but first of all, global warming means more intense weather conditions. more hail, more frost, more problems, means heat and drought in the summer. This is the reason why in many regions in Italy, Spain, and also in the southern part of France, it gets more and more impossible to make wine. You know that in Bordeaux, the biggest wine region in Europe, they just did cut 20,000 hectares of vineyards. 20,000 hectares of vineyards. Why? Less consumption, too hot, and Merlot is a big problem in Bordeaux. It's too ripe, it's over, it gets jammy.
So they're going to plant another
too much alcohol, so they plant other varieties. They begin to plant Touriga Nacional in Bordeaux. Nobody talks about this. They plant other varieties. They're
more resilient to bad weather.
Exactly, and the big variety from Argentina. So they plant other varieties, and it changes. Global warming changes the wine industry extremely fast. The public doesn't realize how fast. It's a big change going on, and right now I would say billions of euros are destroyed in the wine industry. On the other hand, white wine with low alcohol is getting more popular worldwide as a food partner, and this is a region which might produce some of the most elegant white wines with low alcohol. And in my vision, from the year 2000, didn't change. I said to myself, there might be a great future for Saar wine in a cool climate with a great heritage, great history. Egon Müller keeps the world record for the most expensive wine in the whole world. Many people don't know that it's German. It's not Romanée-Conti. It's not Cheval Blanc La Vitiatore. It's not Petrus. No, it's Egon Müller. So my neighbor, in nearly all my vineyards, he gets the highest prices in the whole world, up more than 20,000 euro per bottle. So it's really international reputation. And I said to myself, there might be a chance for a second producer who focuses on dry wine.
Exactly. And so the third concept that you use a lot, of course, is the change of consumption. You anticipate that the new generation and also every wine consumer tends to go from very strong wine to wines which are a little bit lighter.
That's what happens. People consume less alcohol.
It is, definitely.
There's lots of negative communication about alcohol right now. People say that wine creates cancer. Sorry to say this, but this is bullshit.
Yes.
I know customers of mine who are 90 years old and they consume one bottle of wine every day. If you do not consume too much, if you do have if you don't consume too much food, if you don't eat burgers and pizzas and all this rubbish, if you consume good food, if you do some sports, you look like you're in a good shape. I consume a lot of wine, I do a lot of sports.
But I think you're right, that there is a change. People are scared to drink too much, and I agree that the younger generation drinks less, and also I think enjoys more lighter wine.
That's it.
And we are back to basically the reason why the wines from the Mosel were so famous 100 years ago, which are some elegant white wines, not too strong in alcohol. So you partly answered my next question, which is about the scalability. If I compare a little bit with Bitburger, I checked and it was very fascinating. The brewery was created in 1817.
By my grandfather.
Exactly. By 1877, they did 1,000 hectoliters. It took them 14 years to go to 10,000 hectoliters, and another 82 years to go to 1 million hectoliters. So scalability is part of the DNA of your entrepreneurial family. Do you plan to scale this, or as you said, you just go from 85 to 65 or something like this? What's the vision?
When I bought my winery, I always said never more than 20 hectares.
Oh.
After 5 years, my mom said, Roman, don't buy any other vineyard. And I said, okay, 50 is the maximum. And then it began, because I love vineyards. I love the quality potential, but there's one limiting factor. It's all done by hand.
Exactly.
We don't have machine picking. We work with drones. We are totally digitalized in the vineyard. We're really modern. This is by far the most modern winery on one hand, but also very traditional. Everything done by hand. So every day in this, it's February. Every day here, we have 40 to 60 workers in the vineyard. Between 40 and 60 people doing everything by hand. So there's in February.
Wow.
In harvest, we have up to 150 pickers. Every vineyard is picked up to 3 times. We really believe in precision. Excellence is the result. You need to be very precise to create excellence. So we need many people, but there's a maximum of people you can control.
Yes, you cannot scale endlessly.
If you ask me, beer, I love beer, and I'm very thankful, and I would say I'm proud of the work, of the fantastic job my family did and my brothers do. They do a great job. But beer, at the end of the day, is an industrial product. Wine is handcrafted. As long as I do not produce industrial wine, this wine we work natural, no cultivated yeast, only spontaneous fermentation, no fining, no chemicals. We do have a maximum. We cannot get bigger and bigger. There's an absolute, I think, the optimum here is 60 hectares. Therefore, right now we reduce to run 60 hectares, where we totally can focus on the vineyard and the quality.
And you scale the quality, you don't necessarily scale the volume.
I think that the consumption of alcohol and of wine is going down in the next decades, and quality will always have a chance.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
very much.
Have a great time. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.